Hi, good evening everybody. Welcome to the Corporate Parenting Committee. It's now 7 o'clock and I'd like to start the meeting. I'm Councillor Paul Arnold and I'd like to remind everyone present that the meeting has been live streamed and recorded publication is going to be on the Council's website. Those officers attending virtually on Microsoft Teams, I believe I have one tonight. Can you please raise your hand option when you wish to speak, and Luke will note down and let me know. And also just letting you know that item 10, I've moved that up the agenda and that will now be heard after the Children in Care Council. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Chair, we have apologies for Councillor Cecil.
Thank you, and I believe I haven't heard anything from Councillor Polly. She may walk through the door any time now, and Councillor Nodjay I believe is stuck in traffic, so we may see him, we may not. Item 2, it's the minutes. Can I move that the minutes for the Corporate Parenting Committee held on the 5th of September be approved as a correct record? Is there any comments?
The button. The other one.
There we go. Hope you can hear me. Hello, Evelina Subjin Housing. Just wanted to say that I attended the previous meeting and I'm not named there as in attendance, so if that could be added.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'd like to say. Myself and Jackie were both here as representatives of the one team, but we're not on the list of people.
It has been asked of me a couple of times if we could just go around the room. I know we've got all name plaques, but some people, there are a couple of new faces here, and I think it might benefit us. So if we could just go through the room, please. Would you like to start?
Hi, my name is Carolina.
Hello, I'm Jasmine, Chair of Young Voices.
Carly Banks, Participation and Engagement Officer.
Trevor Willis, Service Manager, Safeguard Child Protection, Looked After Children.
Yes. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I'm Boss House Sunday. I'm the Head of Social Work Support in Adult Social Care.
Good evening all, my name is Evelina Subjin. I'm the Assistant Director for Housing and Development.
Good evening everybody, I'm Janet Simon. I'm the Assistant Director for Children's Social Care and Early Help.
Good evening, I'm Dan Jones and I am the Head of Service for CLA.
Good evening, Kate Boren, Head of Employability and Skills. Thank you.
Good evening, Luke Froman, Service Manager for Children Looked After and Aftercare. I just wanted to mention quickly I'm on call this evening, so if I get a call I might need to leave the room.
Good evening, Sharon Hall, Assistant Director for SETCAMS, MSE and Children's Services in Essex, from there.
Hello, James Bennett, Acting Head of Service for Child in Need Child Protection.
Hello everyone, I'm Claire Moore and I'm the Head of the Youth Justice Service and Prevention.
Hello, I'm Tina Russell, Assistant Director for SETCAMS and Partnerships.
I'm Keely Pullen. I'm the Head Teacher of the Virtual School for Children Looked After and previously looked after children.
Wendy Caswell, one team chair.
Jackie Enifer, Vice Chair of the one team.
Councillor Susan Shinnick, South Chafford Ward.
My name's Cece, I'm Councillor Silcia Manuel, and I'm for the ward of Tilbury Riverside and Thurrock Park.
Councillor Adam Carter, Councillor for Chapel St Mary.
Hi, I'm Councillor Vicky Hartstein and I'm Chafford and North Stifford.
Okay, thank you everybody. It's quite a busy room tonight. I think it's the busiest one yet actually. It's great to see everyone. Obviously you know who I am again. I'd just like to make a couple of little announcements actually before we sort of get going. And it's just really to say that I know the one team organised the Christmas Children's Party on the 10th of December, and unfortunately I was unable to make that. I did have other family business on the evening, so I couldn't. And I'd also like to send out a special congratulations to the organisers and helpers of the annual Foster Carers Awards that were held at the old Playhouse last Friday evening. It was a wonderful evening, actually, a real credit to everybody, and it was a really good thing to visit and enjoy and talk through with everybody. The Mayor, Sue Little, she joined us, Councillor Sue Little, very apologies, and she gave out some awards to members, to the very dedicated foster carers. It really was a wonderful evening, and I know there was a little side bet about my shirt that night. I haven't worn it, so I'm sorry to disappoint a few people. And also, now I'd just like to say, for those who don't already know, and I'm sure everyone does, obviously Dan Jones, this is his last meeting tonight. And I personally would like to thank him for all of the help and advice he's given me. And I know it's not easy with all the new chairs coming through, and you know, we all kind of start from scratch. It's all very frustrating, but I would like to say I would really personally like to thank you, and I'm sure other members, other people would like to do exactly the same thing. I wish you well and all the best in your future endeavours. Would you like to say anything, Dan?
Just thank you very much. It's been a privilege to work in Thurrock and work with the community and children and families here, and I think the Children's Services Department is well placed to go forward and continue to do a great job for them all.
Fantastic. We have actually got a little card written out here, which we'll pass over to you later. Unfortunately, obviously a couple of people aren't here yet, so they're not on there, but I'm sure they wish they could be. Yes. Right, I know, Councillor Carter, would you like to say anything about the Christmas dinner? Would you like to say anything about that? Or?
Well, firstly, I'll declare an interest in that because that was organised by my twin sister. But yes, we had there was a Christmas dinner for care leavers. Well, I say obviously we've got some who came as well, and it was a fantastic event, and I couldn't have enjoyed it more. It was really great to have so many people connect there, and there's a great video. I don't know if it's been released yet, but that showed. It's about 5 minutes long that showed the night, and it's really fantastic. So if I get a link to that, I'll send that round for sure. But it's great that these opportunities now do happen in Thurrock.
Fantastic, please do. Okay, if we can just go straight into item 5 now, and obviously that's the Children in Care Council presentation. Thank you.
Hello. So, do I just? The Children in Care Council was previously run by Open Door, but we're now basically with Young Voices until October. So that's when there was the transition. It's now run by Carly. The first meeting was held on the 29th as the merge, and we discussed the purpose of the group and how we think it should be run going forward. We have 10 members who are part of the WhatsApp group, and of those 6 are active members attending the meetings. We have also who the age ranges from 11 to 25, so it's like a nice range of like different experiences of people. There are now 14. The merge is like a really good improvement of coming together as like young children.
So, as you mentioned, we merged into Thurrock Young Voices, which before used to be like 2 separate. On our hands, we got to plan the whole thing and decorate. So it was quite fun. We do have a young panel as well. So we've obviously interviewed social workers and other professionals within children's services. And we also been fortunate enough to do trainings.
So
I've mentioned the slumber party. I think
Yeah.
there's pictures, like photos as well of the slumber party. Yeah.
Things we would like to do to work on in 2024 is to support the corporate parenting committee meeting to be more young person friendly, or like sports like suggested. 2 big events for young people per year, like Young Voices at Grange Waters, is like a nice like social event.
And then we have our Young Voices member packs, including our T-shirt, which we represent right now, and our hoodie to be created. And we also have the lanyard, which we don't have on right now, but I believe Carly might have. And also create a Young Inspectors program. So I think it's just, in a big summary, it's having young people more involved with, you know, decisions or training, and having more of a relationship with the professionals, our social workers, or even, you know, like we said, chairs coming to see us before these type of meetings. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. I mean, actually, and as I was reading it all out, I've got all these points highlighted out for me to ask you actually. So that's good, and I'm glad you've explained a little bit about the Young Inspectors Programme. I think obviously, you know, you've asked, you know, for us to sort of support you a little bit better, and you made some suggestions there, and I really don't think that'll be much of a problem. I think obviously we've got your first on tonight, and I think it generally always is actually, but obviously we can make sure that it does happen. Yeah, and I'd be more than happy, really, you know, going forward to actually meet sort of more regularly. I think in the past we've kind of asked, but it's never really materialised, so we need to really make sure that it does now. And I mean, hopefully someone else will be able to join me as well. That'd be great. And obviously, if I can't make it, then maybe some others can. Does anyone else have any questions or anything? Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this to committee. It's very great, and I very much like seeing your things you'd like to work on in 24. The Chair did highlight most of what I was going to say, but I just want to highlight that you've really brought up a great point about reports being written for all to understand. It's not just for children; it's for the public as a whole, and it's a public document, and it should be more accessible to the public. And it's really great to see that that is highlighted, because it's something I've long argued about as well. So I fully get that. I thank you also for going into a bit more detail with the Young Inspectors Programme, because I just saw the bullet point. I was wondering what that was, but really thank you for your report.
Okay, I think we've got Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered if you could just tell me a little bit about the power of participation training, because I wasn't on the committee before, so if you could just tell us what that is, please. Thank you.
So that's the training that we do, like for social workers, where it's actually young people training them. So we have like a full-on PowerPoint, and at the moment it's been virtually done, which we'd love to do it in person. And we've done it, I think so far, I can say from mine, I think about 2 times for me, like about twice. And they've been successful so far. So yeah, it's literally just training them, and we'd love to as well train like foster carers and personal advisors for the aftercare team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manuel, I did see you indicating down there.
I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for coming along, because, I mean, the essence of the Corporate Parenting Committee is regarding children and young people. So the fact that, at least for as long as I've been part of the committee, we haven't had any children or young people really apart from me. And I mean, I'm not the reason of this meeting. It's really great that you guys are here and like speaking and sharing like what you're doing. And I also agree with the point that Councillor Carter made, in the sense of there should be more transparency when it comes to like the way these documents are like written, because I do think that accessibility of information is really important. And at the end of the day, if we're all sitting here reading it and it's maybe some things are a bit long-winded, or maybe it's just not the most straightforward way of explaining things, it is like things are going to get lost in translation, and that's just not helpful to anyone. So I think the points you've raised are really, really important, and I hope that I'll volunteer as someone to come and see you guys if I'm given the chance, because it's really interesting what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you will do in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone? No? Okay, thank you. Yes, okay, just in closing, I mean, it's a great report. It's glossy, it's lovely, it's very lookable. We know there's some good pictures there. But I've just got one odd question. Your movie night, what did you watch?
Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, the classic.
Good call, yeah.
We did have food as well there, so it was like a whole buffet. Yeah. So it was a game night / slumber party and a buffet. Well, we made up a whole buffet. So, yeah.
And a fair assortment of Christmas jumpers there I can see as well. So it's all good stuff. It's not just me that has to dress up like that. So that's great. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. It's a pleasure to have you here. And like I say, we'll take your notes on board. Obviously, and I'm sure we'll be able to really sort of make sure that it all works out for you. So that's great. So thank you very much for coming. I will say, you are welcome to leave us. You're more than welcome. But if you do wish to stay, please do. You're quite welcome again. So we are going to be moving on to the next item. So there might be some fireworks, there might not. So we'll see. Right, I think we're going to move now straight into item 10. Just let me turn it on over. Now I did put a little bit of thought into this. I thought it might be best to just move it up the agenda. I know we have got someone join us on screen, and so I just thought maybe we'd just get this one out of the way. Now I will be very honest. Yesterday I spent quite a bit of time actually writing 4 pages of, let's just say, words. And maybe I'll save it till the end, because I was going to break with convention a little bit and go straight into this. I was just pouring out my frustration on paper. I mean, I personally am getting a bit sick to death actually about with initial health assessments and the delays and all the problems that surround that. So I'm gonna leave reading this out, because I want to hear what's going to be presented to us to see if there is any improvements or what is going to be coming towards us in the future. But it is worth noting that, talking to some foster carers very recently, actually, it's clear to see there's some dissatisfaction out there with regards to the length of time that it takes to get these initial health assessments done. It's really not acceptable, and we really need to see some action pretty soon. So if I can just ask Dan Jones and Sharon Hall to present a report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So those who've been on the committee for a while will know that this is a returning matter, as you say, Chair, and performance is not improving. We're currently at a position where even if every referral was made on time, there is no appointment available for us to achieve an initial health assessment on time, and we remain committed to trying to do that. These are important appointments and important information for the child, as well as for ourselves as professionals supporting. Timely performance is no longer achievable with the current resource, and this has been escalated to the highest levels with the ICB and within Children's Services and the Council itself. Following that meeting, and that happened after I put the report in, so apologies, there was an initial meeting to discuss the performance that hasn't been acceptable and to look at potential solutions. The ICB might want to comment further, but has agreed to look at putting this on its risk register and has looked at alternative solutions that may be possible options. There's a task and finish group led by the ICB, which is starting next Tuesday and will be attended by senior managers from Children's Social Care. I think it's just worth acknowledging that the work we are doing will address the IHA's capacity in area. So our area is Basilwood and Brentwood and Thurrock in terms of health. However, there are issues outside of that area where partners that we're working with don't reach, so that there will still be other issues to address, even though we've got this task and finish group going. I don't know if Sharon wants to add anything.
I think this issue has been taken very seriously. The ICB have now picked it up and raised it up to their highest managers or commissioners. I'm working very closely with Dan and with Innes, who's online there, and the task and finish group should help. This is, and I know you don't, you know, you're talking about Thurrock and you're concerned about Thurrock, and I understand that, but this is an issue across the whole of Essex. We've also done some mapping around numbers of referrals, where they're coming from, and how other areas are dealing with that. And we've also got some kind of options. None of them are cost neutral, I have to say, that we can present to the ICB next week, that would look at how we would go about addressing that if we were given extra funding. For last year, we saw over 275 IHAs when we originally commissioned only to see 100. So, you know, it's not rocket science, and obviously the evidence is that the kind of the system cannot cope with the numbers that are coming through, and we want to try and get this right as quickly as possible. But I do have to say that's not cost neutral.
Thank you. I mean, I will say from the outset that it's not my nature to actually. I mean, people know me. It's not my nature to be sort of too forceful in life. But I think I really do feel this is coming to the end of the road, really, for this. We do need to see some definite action on this. It's just plain and simple not acceptable. Would anyone else like to come in at this stage? Councillor Carter.
Is my microphone running out? Does that work?
Oh, it's me.
Sorry. Yeah, well, firstly, thank you, Chair. It is with frustration I note this report, and I would like to thank officers keeping the committee well up to date, because we have been kept well up to date, and it is brought back a lot. And this was a previous thing we'd asked for, that it was brought back to the committee often. And I would like to also thank for those, because there has been a lot of people who have been constantly fighting for the IHAs to be completed on time, and we should appreciate that. It's always been a hot topic, and I have in the past expressed scepticism about past improvements. Unfortunately, that scepticism has been shown to be well-founded. I do appreciate that this is a national issue, and it is there is a number of reasons why we are not able to achieve the target previously set. But are we setting a target that we don't actually have much control when it comes to delivery? And we have to say, if moving forward, is this still a realistic target, and can it be achieved at all anymore? Is my question, with a provider no longer available to source them. Are we now just setting ourselves up for failure?
I mean, I would just add to that, really. I mean, I like you, like other colleagues around the table, you know, we get to speak to lots of people on the doorsteps, and whenever an particular issue comes up, and let's just say potholes, I say, I've actually given up saying this now, but do you drive around the country? We've got the same problem everywhere, and I have heard so many times people saying to me, I don't care about the rest of the country, I want my road sorted. And our looked after children are our children, and we need to be putting our children first. I know there are national issues now, but now's the time we need to get it right for Thurrock. Does anyone else need to speak? Councillor Polly. Oh, I'm very sorry. I've got Innes Paris waiting on the line. I will actually come back. If you don't mind, Innes, I'll come to you next. Sorry about that.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. If you go now, we've got Councillor Polly to come after us. But if you could speak now, please.
Okay. So I'm Innes Paris. I'm the designated lead safeguarding nurse for the ICB. I don't know if you can see me as well. So as it was said by Dan and Sharon, we as commissioners of the service take this extremely seriously. However, we do have constraints, which is that at the moment, nationally, we can only have these completed by paediatricians, and we do have a national shortage of paediatrician. So we are seeking local solutions, but also going through our channels through NHS England and the regional teams to put more pressure, international teams to seeking a more permanent solution that can allow providers to seek alternative solutions and not being so dependent on a workforce that we know is depleted and really is not going to be, that's not going to be mitigated in the next few years. So that has been done by our chief nurse, which is Dr. Thorpe. And additionally, we've got a task and finish group, which the timeframes are between February 24 and April 24. And we're hoping that in that task and finish group, we are able to achieve solutions across MSE, and that obviously includes Thurrock. We're starting in Thurrock, which is where the issues have been highlighted first. But as commissioners of services across MSE, we'll seek a solution across MSE. And we have identified already additional doctors that would be able to support this workforce and this work effort. So we're really hopeful that we'll be able to get solutions in the short and then in the long term. So I just wanted to give the committee assurance that we have escalated, we have put it on the risk register, and we're doing everything we can to make sustainable improvements. I hear your frustrations that you had improvements before and those weren't sustained. So we're not seeking those short-term solutions, we are seeking long-term solutions, and hopefully next time we attend the committee, we will be able to provide you with a more assurance in relation to what the permanent solution looks like.
Thank you. I mean, I'm very pleased to hear that from what you're saying. Councillor Polly.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ines, for that. Part of what Ines has just said has helped me. My question was, who ultimately is responsible and for overseeing the delivery of it? And I think Ines has just indicated that ICBs are the commissioning body, which then comes under NHS England. I think we don't use our overview and scrutiny enough sometimes for the right reasons. I think this is something that once this task and finish group comes back, if that report is coming back to this committee and doesn't satisfy the chair and the questions that are being asked, that might be something that can be elevated to the people overview and scrutiny arm of the council to investigate that a little bit further. That might be a suggestion, Chair, to try and drill down and get some answers if they're not coming through the other channels. We've seen this. I mean that is a really high percentage. If projected figures were for commissioning were 100 IHAs and we've gone to 275. Sorry, was that across the MSC or was that Thurrock? That was across the MSC. And is there a breakdown of that? Do we know where the higher demand has come from, please, if you don't?
As far as where, obviously we deliver for Basildon, Brentwood and Thurrock, our highest referrals come from Thurrock actually. We have a lot that come in area from outside of Basildon and Brentwood, but from Essex, and we also have quite a lot of unaccompanied. In fact, we're checking, but we think we have the highest number of unaccompanied that actually come into Thurrock, Basildon and Brentwood for the rest of Essex. Obviously, we're just getting west figures, and we've just got some north figures because nobody was monitoring this across the whole of Essex, Southend, and Thurrock, and it looks like we have the most in Thurrock, Basildon, and Brentwood. So, I mean, hence the numbers that we were originally commissioned for, and actually what we're delivering, and what the gap is still.
Thank you, Sharon, and unfortunately, that seems to be. As you said, Basildon, Brentwood and Thurrock, but that isn't the MSC geographical area or demographic either, is it? So there's so many misalignments within NHS itself that it makes it very difficult. And when you take North Essex, they're quite coastal as well. There's different challenges there. So I can only echo Chairs and other members' comments that and I'm sure the same for the officers as well, that they're this is out of our control. As hard as we push, as hard as we knock at doors, we're not paediatricians and we're not able to actually deliver on these reports. But I think we do need to be seen to be doing the best job that we can. And perhaps if there are some statistics that sort of, as so often is the case, Thurrock is quite unique on a sort of 17-mile boundary. We've been recognised previously, both with the Development Corporation, with previous primary care networks, with the fact that we're a unitary because we're so diverse and so unique and complex in a lot of our issues. We can often make a very different case for Thurrock compared to our neighbours, such as Brentwood and Basildon. So I think perhaps we need to revisit some of those figures and see what we can do to help you with our connections as well. Obviously, for the time being, I'm appointed governor on the MSC Foundation Hospital Trust, so there might be an inroad there that we can sort of use to make representation to the ICB as well on a broader picture from Thurrock. These are just sort of suggestions I'm offering to try and give you some more power to your elbow.
Just to come back on that, I mean, I think everybody feels passionately about this issue, and rightfully so. I think one of the things is that, as Ines said, I think the task and finish group is what was probably needed 6 months ago, in fairness, but we've got there, and I think that should come up with some short, medium and long-term, real change that will help to address the numbers and the capacity. And just looking at the model, because, looking at things, if we only serviced Thurrock, we could see all of the Thurrock, but we don't, as you're aware. So actually thinking about things in an MSc as far as health resources is one of the things we'll be looking at to see whether that will help.
I just wanted to address the question asked by Councillor Carter about our targets around the percentages of IHAs that we want completed, and you'd asked whether or not we're setting ourselves up, or we're being realistic. I think we should be ambitious, and so we've set them at the rate we've set them because we think that's where we should be. And if we accept a lower rate, what we're saying, it's okay. You don't need to do it. You can do less. And so we're determined to keep it where it needs to be.
Councillor Carter, would you like to come in? I've got Sue Sinnock waiting, but if you just respond to that, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say I do completely agree with you with that statement. I did just want to highlight that this is really beyond our control at this stage, and I know everyone around this table is very committed to ensuring that target. I just felt that we really do need to highlight that we can try as much as we can. There are factors outside of our control here. And that was my initial comment about thanking everyone for their persistent hard work, because there has been a lot of hard work on this. But it was more a point about the achievability.
Apologies, Councillor Sinnock.
Right, thank you. Talking about setting up a task and finish group, my main concern is 3 months. Is that going to be enough time to look into it all properly?
Please do.
I think, task and finish group, we don't want to go on and on. We want to address this problem as quickly as possible. Why I think a task and finish group is probably the right approach. We have a lot of information. We've worked with Dan and with the team. So from a health perspective and within this, we kind of know what the issue is. It's about getting momentum on what which option or solution can we move forward with. So I think 3 months sounds ambitious, but I do think we need to get on with it, and hopefully we will have come up with what we need to do, and hopefully have implemented possibly a short-term solution with a medium and long-term built in that we're clear about, because at the moment there's no plan B at the moment. I have to be honest.
well, obviously we look forward to making good progress with that. Is anyone else who'd like to speak, like to come in? Oh, Councillor Manwell.
I mean, sorry to disrupt the flow of the meeting. It's not actually relevant to that. Could the aircon be turned down by any chance? I'm sorry, but we're freezing and it's making me. Like,
Don't ask me. I'm not techie enough.
sorry.
I can't do that.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so I think that there's movement there, and it was good that Cardiff held off with mine. Obviously, we'll have this task finished. Oh, Dan, very sorry.
Apologies, I just wanted to come back on a couple of things. I think just to pick up on where Janet was saying about the target, the target was high and we reduced it, to be in line with a regional partner who's able to achieve that, and they are able to work with their partners and have the capacity to do that. Now, there's obviously a different borough and there's slightly different context. Sharon's already pointed out the high demand in Thurrock, but it's an achievable target. And I think that's why we set it at that particular level. And I think the other thing to say is, Councillor Polly mentioned the point around everyone's holding slightly different data, but something that we've done over the last year to 18 months is make sure that the data we hold in the local authority is very transparent. It's shared with partners every Tuesday. Now to attend, the ICB are invited to attend, and that data is agreed and transparent. So we are very much looking at the pool of children who are looked after by Thurrock, who we're responsible for whom we want those assessments on time for. And it will, Nelf have been kind enough to invite me into their performance meeting, so I've been able to see exactly where the appointments are, and that's been helpful. But I think you're tracking a resource that's not there at this point, and that's the real challenge.
Okay, thank you. I mean, so no one else would like to say anything on this? Oh, Councillor Polly.
Can this committee be confident that nobody awaiting an IHA has had a health condition or their health has been impaired in any way because of the delay that have been caused by these assessments?
So ideally we'd like the assessments on time always. However, when any child comes into care, if we think there's any health need they may have, or we identify any concern that might need an appointment with a general practitioner or a specialist, then we wouldn't wait for the IHA to do that. We make sure that they get registered with a GP as soon as possible when coming into care, and if they need an appointment, we would take them there. If they're not yet registered with a GP, they would go to urgent out-of-hours care. Our foster carers are very experienced at having children arrive suddenly and know exactly how to get healthcare when needed. And of course there's emergency services for anything like that. It wouldn't prevent a referral to CAMS because the IHA hasn't happened. So if there was any identified and obvious need, we of course take it. If a child was saying, I don't feel well, or this hurts, then we would seek medical attention without needing to wait.
As you say, that's their physical well-being, but their emotional well-being.
Yes, in the same vein, we'd make a referral to CAMS without waiting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I will say that I have had a private conversation with someone, and I'm not going to say it's contradictory to what you've said, but I think there are issues out there, and maybe we can pick that up afterwards, but I will leave that there. Thank you. Nobody else has got anything else to say? Well, it's like I say. I mean, I look forward to us moving forward on this. With you know, there's a real serious need, because I actually in my notes there, I'd actually said that I was going to be asking the head of service how we can escalate this further, take it to a much sort of higher level, and asking for assistance from other people that might have a little bit more clout. But obviously we've had some positive news tonight, so I haven't needed to go down that route. So thank you very much. I do apologise if I've come across it the wrong way, but it is very, very important to us, and we've all sat here saying exactly the same things for a long time now. I've been on this committee for well over a year and a half. Situation hasn't changed, and it needs to. So, okay, thank you very much, people. Thank you. Well, I think if we go to the next item on the... Oh, recommendation. Very sorry. That's very sorry. Hold on 1 second. Right, I've got recommendations. It's 1.1 through to 1.3. But members note the impact of reduced additional paediatric capacity on securing timely IHAs. Members are advised for the delay reasons and that performance is declining since Q1. And 1.3, that the matter is returned to the Health and Wellbeing Board for review prior to the March Corporate Parenting Committee. All in agreement?
Yep. Agreed.
Thank you. So we are now back on agenda item number 6, and that is the children's social care performance. Can I ask Daniel Jones to present his report? Thank you.
Sure, no problem. So this report sets out our performance in respect of looked after children over the second quarter. For those who have been here before, a lot of the performance points are fairly similar, and it reflects some stability in the service. The number of looked after children in our care remains stable. You will see as you go through the report that the numbers of children entering and leaving care is fairly consistent as well, although it will always have some up and downs which reflect, you know, the time of year that birthdays happen or the ending of court proceedings, children returning to their families. One of the things that has changed over the last year has been the number of unaccompanied asylum seeking children in our care. And in previous reports I've set out this is due to an uplift of the number of children we're required to support. You'll see in the last quarter we've been at or over our quota and have been participating in the National Transfer Scheme, which seems to be moving now. I think it's important just to highlight that June was an exceptional month for entries into care. We had 30 children come in to care that month, and that reflects a number of arrivals in terms of unaccompanied asylum seeking children, but also reflects safeguarding action that the local authority was taking at the time. And I had a look at all of those entries into care, and they're all appropriate, and they reflect some large sibling groups, which is why the number is larger for that month. But if you count it as number of families, it's much more in line. The only other bit I wanted to highlight is we have a slight increase as time goes on in the number of children who are looked after with a disability. I don't think that reflects necessarily a huge change in the local population, but perhaps does reflect the needs of some children for 52-week placements that support their needs in respect to their disability. The missing children report will come later, so I'm going to skip over that, and we've discussed the IHAs. I think what I would say is that we're still working on trying to achieve more local placements for children. I'll talk about that a little bit later in respect to the sufficiency strategy, and also working to ensure that where children are placed from home, that we're able to, further away from home, we're able to support them appropriately to have contacts and other services. I don't have any other particular comments and welcome any questions.
Any members like to speak? Councillor Harstein.
Thank you, Chair. Just on page 23 of the report, just in terms of the category of need, could you just explain to me what family dysfunction means in terms of why a child would be taken into care or a child become looked after, please? Thank you.
So, of course, it can cover a range of situations, but can mean a breakdown in relationships with the family, where the child can't stay at home. It might not necessarily be because of a particular issue of abuse or neglect, but it might be that pressures within the family are such that the child can't stay living at home, or their parent may have made a request to enter care under Section 20. So that would be our kind of broad category for those things.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Carter.
Fortunately, we'll be on the same page and the same graph, actually, as Councillor Hartstein just brought up. It's about absent parenting as a reason. As a reason, children are looked after by primary need. It has increased from 10% to 15% of all cases, compared to a statistical neighbour and national average of 5%. I wondered, is there a particular reason why Thurrock has a higher percentage of this compared to the rest of the country and our statistical neighbours?
So absent parenting is the code we use for UASC most commonly. So the reason it's gone up is our UASC quota has increased. And obviously if you've made that difficult journey to travel here and you've arrived in the country, the whole position of being as a US is you have no parent available, so absent parenting is the category you use.
Really easy once you've pointed it out. So.
I just wanted to add to that as well. If you compare us against statistical neighbours in England, Thurrock is a port authority, so we have a higher number of US group, generally our number or slightly above.
Yeah, thank you. Just got one question, because Councillor Harsin's taken my other one. On page 24, it's the out-of-court disposal panel. Can you just explain the phrase, it's local Pan Essex protocol? And how do we divert a child from the justice system? Who and how do they make that judgment?
I can answer that. The out-of-court disposal panel works within a Pan Essex protocol. So within the Essex police area, we have the protocols that we form. We divert young people from statutory intervention. So we will get referrals from the police where a young person has undertaken some criminal activity that is considered to be fairly low level. They are referred into the panel. There is an assessment undertaken by one of the youth justice practitioners. The board meets weekly, the panel meets weekly, and we will discuss the child as a whole, not just looking at the criminal behaviour, and come up with a plan of intervention. And there are a number of different things that we can offer depending on the severity of the crime and the child's circumstances in which they live. Does that answer the question?
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. On page 17, we've got... sorry, did we miss someone?
Yes, Councillor Manuel.
No worries, I'll give way.
I was just going to bring up on page 23, back to the table that we all seem to be talking about. The highest primary need, or the reason why someone's been taken into care, is abuse or neglect. And if you look at the chart, obviously it shows that compared to our statistical neighbours, like the average, it's considerably higher. So I'm just wondering, for the children who have been through the relevant abuse or neglect, what service does the council provide in terms of counselling and mental health support? I mean, obviously that might be the responsibility of the NHS. I understand that, but in terms of the council, are they facilitating that effectively? Because it seems like a lot of children, most children, are being put into care because of that reason, and it's slightly is me being a bit euphemistic. It's quite concerning. So,
yeah. So we have a range of services available. I think it is probably an area that every young person would want to talk about. It comes up through our feedback from young people quite a bit. So for mental health need, there is CAMS, and we have a consultation service available with CAMS as well. That can be really useful, but sometimes the level of need, that might not be the right service, or the level of need might not be at that level. We support a range of children through community-based services like Virtual School, and they have schools counsellors access to services there that might be just a little bit more appropriate. Our foster carers have access to training, so they understand therapeutic parenting, and so some of that support can be delivered in either the foster placement or the home that a child's in, and I think that often is the most effective, because that kind of formal model of therapy of going to a room and talking to someone works for a group of people. However, sometimes that might be the last thing you want to talk about, and being in an environment that feels safe and contained, and where someone's going to listen to you when you're upset and help contain that emotion, can be as helpful as anything else. I think it's always an area where we'd like to do a little bit more and have a little bit more service, but what we do is make sure that when a need arises, we look for an appropriate service to meet it. And Luke chairs a monthly meeting that looks at children's emotional health and well-being. And we have something called the SDQ, you'll see it elsewhere in this thing, which is a measure of emotional well-being where it looks like there's a concern, then what Luke will do is try and link that child with a service that suits them.
say, from CAMS, myself and Tina oversee CAMS services. I do here in Thurrock. We have a fast track 10-day referral to assessment and discussion for any looked after child.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for Councillor Manwar.
Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to talk, on page 17, we've got the number of looked after children. We've got a graph of it and how we compare to our statistical neighbours, but we've also got page 19 is children who ceased to be looked after, and page 20 is started to look after. Sorry for the load of pages, but it's a point where our statistical neighbour statistic it seems to be for the whole of 22 to 23, whereas throughout the year we've got Thurrock's ones for each month. So I was wondering, is the statistical neighbour number different per month, because they will obviously had all those who left care and entered care counted as one figure, whereas our ones done by month. So sorry, am I making sense? Yeah. And I was just worried that it looks like we're a lot lower than our statistical neighbours for number of looked after children. But it might be that their statistic is just, it looks bigger because it's not by every month. And I was seeing if they were counted as a year as a whole. And if we could then have a figure for Thurrock for the whole year, if that would work.
Yes, yeah, that's something we can do, but it will take. So those will be based on a financial year. So last financial year, we'd have to go through a whole year to give you that figure. We could give a rolling 12 months, but that again is kind of variable. I think what I would say is, we want children who are in our care to be the ones who really need it, and to be the ones who should be in our care. And a lot of the work that we do is to try and help children remain in their families and help families stay together. So the committee would have heard about the Think Family approach that Thurrock takes. And I think some of the difference between us and our statistical neighbours is that we work very, very hard across the service, right from early help all the way to get to my part of the service, to try and keep families together and out of care. In small authorities, small numbers can make quite a big difference. If we look at the June data, that jump really stands out. But in other authorities, that 30 children coming into care might be quite usual for a month. So although they're statistical neighbours, they're not the same. It can vary, I would say.
Okay, all makes perfect sense. Any apologies down there. This I will get you next time. Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you, Chair. Just on page 26, please, looking at the return home interviews. Obviously, looking here about sort of the service went in-house. I was just looking at the graph down the bottom there. So we're looking at sort of December 22 was 100%, and we're down to 73% September 23. So there's some sort of quite, slippage going on there. Is that something that you are concerned about as a service? And obviously, do you see that improving? I was just wondering about the reasons behind it, and do you expect there to be an improvement now that the appointment's been made? Thank you. Loads of questions there, sorry.
I think the answers to the questions are actually in my report in relation to missing children. The new workers, our contract with Inspire finished in April. Our new workers didn't start until October. We did have a plan in place around that gap and how to mitigate some of that, but we're now up to 100%, and it has been for the last couple of months.
That's great, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers? Okay, thank you very much, Dan, for that report, as ever. Very, very interesting, and I know it comes up every time, so we're kind of getting used to it now. Yeah, so thank you very much. So if we could maybe just move to recommendations, please. And that is 1.1, that members note improvements in the children's social care and note the work that is undertaken to ensure good and improving performance. And 1.2, which is members scrutinise the performance data and provide challenge to the service as required on how. As corporate parents, we provide appropriate services, keep children and young people safe and promote good outcomes. All in agreement?
Yep, great.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 7, which is the Independent Reviewing Officer report. Trevor Willis.
Thank you. If it's okay, I have prepared a presentation for people to look at, which I think, Luke, you're going to... Excellent, thank you. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to present the IRO annual report for the period of 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. This kind of report just covers the headline data and the main points of the report, and obviously I'll be happy to take any questions. Just to clarify that the role of the IRO is to monitor the child's case, monitoring the care plan in between reviews and ensuring that the care plan reflects the child's needs, which is consistent with the local authority's legal responsibility. The IRO has a need to promote the voice of the child and ensure that all plans are up to date and make sure that the child understands how an advocate could help, prevent drift, and ensure that the local authority fulfills its role as a corporate parent. In short, basically, our IROs share the ambition that the local authority has for our children and young people. Our IROs are very proud and possessive of the children and young people that they represent, and they are really ambitious to make sure that they achieve the highest possible outcomes. The headline data in the report basically shows that there's been a slight decline in the number of reviews that were held when compared to last year. This could be due to a number of things, due to, as identified later on in the report, there has been a lack of placement moves, which would mean that there'd be a lack of reviews resulting from that. Also, fluctuations in the numbers of children that are looked after with elders also result in a decline in the number of the reviews. The IRO service excuse me, is fully staffed and has been for a number of years, and that's really important both for our children and young people, that they achieve some consistency with regards to their IRO, but also allows the IRO to be a little bit more generous in their role than they have been perhaps previously. So therefore, we've been more receptive to the wider needs of the local authority, and to that end, the IRO service is undertaking post-18 reviews and is ensuring that transitions is also discussed where relevant, and transition planning is also discussed where relevant at anybody's review. We've only had one formal dispute within the IRO service this year, and that was in relation to a care plan not progressing as swiftly as we would have hoped. When I took over the IRO service, one of my big things was about making sure that whenever we were raising a dispute, we were thinking about what is our outcome in relation to this dispute, and also trying to talk to practitioners as much as possible and actually spend time talking to people as opposed to spend time firing off emails and everything. So that's had a massive impact on the number of formal disputes that we've raised. But that's not to say that the IROs don't still continue to offer challenge and don't still continue to offer independent challenge as well. And I'd just like to highlight that the timeliness of reviews is evident of the joint working between the IROs and the excellent business support staff and backroom staff that we have, that I think sometimes get overlooked, but actually have worked extremely hard in making sure that things happen on time. If we could have the next slide, please, Luke. So basically, the data shows us that children who are in the care of Thurrock are getting older. The cohort of children aged 10 to 15 years old has been the biggest for some time. However, this cohort of children is now getting older. So therefore, a child who was 12 in 2018-19 is now going to be 16 years old. I think also that increase in the cohort of older children would come down to increased numbers of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children as well, who often fall into this older age range category as well. Despite that, the age ranges are in line with national data. Although the difference between the two oldest brackets is smaller, it's still in line with national data. If we could have the next slide, please. We've got more males than female young people and children in care, and there are a number of factors to consider there, both in terms of often unaccompanied asylum-seeking children are young men, and that there is a propensity also for some young men to be involved in behaviours that may bring them to the attention of the local authority. Again, if you could have the next slide. To look at our numbers of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, Thurrock has caught up and overtaken statistical neighbours regarding the percentage of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. I think it's really important that when we look at these graphs, we don't lose sight of the fact that behind each of these numbers and percentages, there is an actual child. And when we talk about unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, often we're talking about a child that has started travelling from somewhere, maybe 3, 4. So a 12-year-old child has started travelling from wherever they are and has arrived in Thurrock, age 15, had a horrific journey, a horrific time, experienced things that are unimaginable. And so actually, you know, and Thurrock is a port of entry, so it's understandable why our numbers have gone up. But I think it's really important that when we look at this percentage increase, that we don't underestimate the impact or the situation these children have faced. But the number of the unaccompanied asylum-seeking children has increased, but I think, again, that's in line with government projects as well. So, if we could have the next slide, Luke, sorry. The ethnicity of children who are looked after is in line, it's slightly different from statistical neighbours, but is in line with Thurrock's national census, Thurrock's census, sorry. So I think it represents that we're in line with where we are as Thurrock, and sometimes when we compare ourselves to statistical neighbours of the rest of England, it's really important that we look at our local demographic as well, and the uniqueness of Thurrock, and our children and young people in terms of their ethnicity is in line with, or roughly in line with, the breakdown for the census of Thurrock. Thank you, Luke. So most of our children are on full care orders, and that's really important because it provides them with the level of permanency, but I think it also highlights the complexity and the need of the children, and the complexity and the need that the children and young people face in Thurrock, which means that we have to look at taking that kind of legal action as well. There has been an increase in the number of Section 20, which may be due to the increase in the number of unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, as well as perhaps maybe reflecting the difficulties faced by some parents in terms of short-term measures in looking after their children. Thank you, Luke. If we could have the next slide. In terms of placements, availability of placements remains a national issue, both and also remains a local issue because of Thurrock's size and because of how big Thurrock is. Sometimes it's not possible to meet the complex needs of some of our children and young people within such a small area. What is really encouraging to note is that the number of placement moves for children has gone down, which I think is highlight to the hard work that the placement team does in terms of trying to find and source placements that are bespoke to our children and young people, and trying to find and look at placements that really meet their needs regardless of where they are. I think, it focuses and shows actually that the service is child-focused rather than need-focused, and I think that's really important. The IROs are really keen to promote that and make sure that that's kind of highlighted wherever possible. Excuse me. Thank you, Luke. If we could just move on to the last few slides. The one before. Sorry, that's thank you. What we've done is we've introduced a QR code for our children and young people, so that on their minutes or they can scan that in and they can share their views with us around their IRO with regards to what they like about the service, what they don't like about the service. We recently introduced that with the help of Carly. And so hopefully that will give us some really rich data going forward, just in terms of what young people like, what they don't like, what's going well for them, what's not going so well, so that we're looking at stuff that's really bespoke to the IRO service, and that we can really then look at how we improve the IRO service. I should have pointed out that the pictures that accompany all of the slides are actually caricatures of the IROs that we've drawn. They really wanted to make sure that we've really worked hard and looked at the types of minutes that we produce for our children and young people. And what we wanted to do is make sure that our IROs were present in those minutes that are produced. So what we've done is we've worked really hard this year in changing and looking at the styles of minutes that we produce for our young people to make them more accessible for our children and young people, and to make them a bit more meaningful and bespoke. So if it's okay, I've got 3 copies of the types and the styles of minutes that we're producing for our children and young people. So I don't know, Luke, if we could go to the magazine 1, if that's possible. Do you want me to bring it up? I've got it on my... Yeah, sorry. Okay. Do you want me to... I need to join, won't I? And then, if that's okay, apologies for this. option to join. Do I? No, I don't have the option to join the meeting, so. Oh, right, is it? Ah, yeah, thank you. Okay. So if I share my screen.
Share your window. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
So, yeah, so this first one here is from one of our IROs to one of our young people, and they were really keen to share their report today. They're really into Lego and Star Wars, so what the IRO has done is throughout their report, they've just included references to Lego and Star Wars throughout the whole report, so you can see that it's just full of Star Wars references. The reports themselves have worked really hard in changing the language that we use for our children and young people. So we don't use phrases like placement or contact anymore, but we use where you live or family time and things like that. We try to avoid using phrases like the plan. What we talk about is what we've agreed that we will do and how we can support you as well. And then we've also got another set of minutes that a young person really wanted to share because they wanted to share their artwork. And so the IRO worked really hard at incorporating their artwork into the minutes so that they now kind of have illustrated their minutes as well. But again, what this evidence is what we talk about, we really write to a young person. So these are the minutes from their review. So they don't get a formal, long 15-page document. What they get now is for our younger young people, they get a magazine-style version of minutes, with the IRO taking them through it, with the young person being able to show off their artwork as well. So there's that option. And then if the other final option we have is that sometimes we write letters to our children and young people, which if I just go to this, and then so if this is another letter. Oh, for some of our young people, what we'll do is we'll write them a letter rather than a magazine for some of our slightly older young people. With the Thurrock crest on it. But again, this is a letter that is bespoke to them. And this young person particularly wanted to share their letter because it's got, I'll skip through the pictures of them, but it talks about the school that they attend, but also that the IRO spent time researching the child's name and surname. And basically what they've managed to work out is that this child's surname means that they're a pirate. And so they were able to kind of share that with the young person. So if I stop sharing now. So it's just kind of, hopefully it gives you a flavour of how, as an IRO service, what we're trying to do is really be more creative in how we provide information to our children and young people. And so hopefully that covers everything. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Trevor. Very interesting. I mean, and really innovative, actually, stuff that's coming through now. It's making me really realise I'm getting lost in a world of technology the older I get. So, but yeah, and you can really see the passion actually coming out in how you communicate. So that's great. Any questions, please? Councillor Polly.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps that's how we're going to see our agendas presented in the future if we've listened to our presentations, which I think we might all welcome. I do have a question. Page 50, percentage of children looked after by gender, and then the top graph and the bottom graph. The bottom graph shows it broke down by age. We've only got two genders. Are we saying all our looked after children identify as either male or female?
The data is gathered via our LCS and reporting issue. That's certainly something we need to take forward and look at. So thank you for pointing that out. And obviously we can look at how we can better reflect those issues. So thank you. Yeah, but the data is gathered via our LCS recording system. So that's something we need to look at and change. So I will take that forward.
Just thinking about the diversity equality and inclusivity, especially focused around those age groups that you know that those years of puberty, and I think that's really sensitive that we're not just pigeonholing people.
And I think it's really important again that we just listen to what young people tell us and then we record as they would want to. So yeah, of course we can. I'm sure we can look at that.
Just briefly, so our recording system does actually show if a child is identifying as other than male or female, but the numbers are so small they wouldn't show in this data here. But it does, we do actually gather that information as well. So if a young person identifies other than male or female, it will show.
I still think there should be a column for other chair. Sorry, just to acknowledge that we do recognise that there are more than two genders. That's just a personal observation. Thank you.
Councillor Memwell.
I just have a question regarding what was brought up. I think it's a really, really good point. And if you actually add up the numbers on figure 8.2, they all come to 100%. So even if the numbers are so small they wouldn't like show up, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit confused, but surely there would be a gap. It wouldn't add to 100%. So I don't know, maybe you could add some clarification to that.
Sometimes percentages round up, so if it's, I don't know, 58.6, it will round up. But it could also be that we have nobody within that cohort that's identifying as other as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you, Chair. Just on page 46, looking at children and young people's participation in the reviews, just looking down that the child did not attend views sent. In 1920 it was 18.8%, and up to 2023 you'd gone up to 30.5% according to my iPhone. Is that obviously sort of, you know, there's a difference there between the amount of children that haven't attended. Is that something that's concerning, and do we know the reasoning behind that? Thank you.
So children are beginning to send their views in a variety of different ways, certainly after lockdown and everything. So often what happens is that the IRO will the IROs will always meet with the child or young person wherever possible before their review, and they will gather their views through a variety of creative ways, whichever way works best. For some young people, they genuinely don't want to come to what they would view as a quite boring meeting with old and dull people like myself. So they would much rather just give their reviews and then go off and do what they want to do. You know, a number of the review reports are very clear. You know, I met with you before your review. You were very clear. You didn't want to attend because you wanted to go and play football with your mates. Well, actually, we'd rather they went and did that. And so we're not massively concerned. I think I'd be more, you know, the fact that the number of children that didn't attend and didn't give their views is less than 1%. I think if that number were, and that number's gone down, and that's the figure that we'd really like to make sure. If in an ideal world, we'd like that to be zero, but we always recognise that there are some children that actually they don't want anything to do with anything at all, and so that's fine. But we're not massively concerned about it as long as we're making sure that we get their views somehow.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And one other thing I just wanted to sort of, when we touched on the UASC earlier on, I mean, one thing that sort of went through my head a short while ago is actually that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, there was a lot of sort of negativity around this sort of cohort, really. And I kind of get the sense now that that's sort of kind of fading away now, isn't it? And it's now people are more accepting of this, maybe this particular group, and I think conversation now is much more even now, and you know the numbers go into the reports, and we can sort of digest that and analyse that properly. And I just wanted to say that a year and a half, 2 years ago, I did pick up some sort of fairly negative comments from people. And I don't hear them anymore, so I think life has moved on in a very positive way in that respect. So, has anyone else got anything else to say? Lovely. Well, that's a very interesting report, and again, it's I mean all the way through the agenda tonight, we see lots of different references to how things are changing with sort of young people and how they're approaching things. You know, even a little bit on here about you know, they're mostly done. There's a very big percentage now done on a Teams video call, which is again, it's kind of a it's kind of modern life creeping, isn't it? Really, and I'd probably want to, at that age, I'd probably want to go and play football as well. So. So thank you very much, Trevor. That's it's very interesting. So if no one else has got anything else to say, if we can just go to the recommendations, which is 1.1 for the Corporate Parenting Committee to review, provide challenge and comment on the IRO annual report, and the recommendations in the report. All agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And that is now item 8. Which is education and employment for care leavers. Can I ask Kate and Luke to present, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the report sets out the work that Inspire and Aftercare have been engaged with in the last year with our care leavers about creating exciting, I hope you'll find them exciting opportunities for our care leavers and working with them to make sure they're engaging with us and they're engaging in employment and training. We are very ambitious about our young people. We're very ambitious about opportunities and careers for all of our young people in Thurrock, but especially for our care leavers, of course, because we're the corporate parents. When we are creating and looking at opportunities, we're making sure that we're listening to the voice of the young person. And I think I'd just like to bring you, kind of, hopefully, try and bring to life some of the opportunities we've created this particular year. So we've started, in partnership with Thurrock Adult Community College, a job club. It's a 6-week job club that rotates every 6 weeks. It's called Unlock Your Potential, and we've got young people attending who at the end of the course might get an air fryer or they might get a voucher at the end of another course. So there's some kind of incentives for young people to participate. But this is as a result of us listening to our young people. They wanted some more opportunities to enhance their skills, not just for employment and training, but just their life skills and preparing for adulthood. Our young people told us that they would like to participate in more music opportunities, so we've reopened our music studio in the Inspire Hub in Grays. We've got a professional working with our young people, but the idea is that our young people who come in, and we've got about 3 care leavers who attend regularly, but one of them is a very talented musician, so as he's progressing with us, he will be taking on that role of accommodating other young people who come through the ranks. And actually, I've met this young person today on the way here. He started an apprenticeship with Thurrock Council. This young person, I remember him when he was a 16-year-old on our Duke of Edinburgh programme. So I've known him for about 7 years. He had a dip in COVID, like a lot of our care leavers. However, he's come up in a very good place thanks to the music studio. We worked with him on his CV, on his presentation skills, interview skills. We gave him a suit. We've got a bank of work clothes for young people, so he attended the interview with Thurrock Council. So he is now an apprentice with Thurrock Council, and I think it's his 3rd week in the council, and he's delighted. So I thought I'd just share that with you. I was delighted to see him today. We've got Mind delivering wellbeing sessions for young people on a Tuesday afternoon. They're very well attended at present. And of course, we're also very conscious that the number of young people, or care leavers, who access higher education is significantly lower than mainstream. So we've teamed up with Make Happen, and they awarded us some funding. We worked with them over the year to work with our young people to raise aspirations, talk to them and their foster parents about possibilities of entering higher education, looking at their possible options of universities. And because there are some universities who might be more suited for care leavers than others. So that was quite a positive project. I think this year specifically, and this, I have to say thank you to Councillor Carter and to his guidance. We've been meeting regularly to have a spotlight on, we've identified 15 young people who we think are ready for employment or apprenticeship or traineeship, and we meet monthly with aftercare, with virtual school, with Thurrock Adult Community College, to make sure that we're looking at all the possibilities and opportunities for these young people. So, for example, one on the list is a young lady who wanted to have a experience, who loves reading books, so she wanted an experience in the library, so we were able to accommodate her. Her trial starts next week. So thank you, Councillor Carter. I wanted to mention the fabulous partnership work that is happening in Thurrock, and I think Thurrock, because I think we're so small, partnership working is very significant, but especially in this arena. So we meet regularly, monthly, with aftercare, we meet with virtual school, we meet with Adult Community College who put on courses for our young people. We work with the job centres, so what we've arranged this year is that an advisor for care leavers from the job centre attends the Inspire Hub on Fridays and attends our hub in Brennan Road on Wednesdays. So the young people come through to us, but they meet their advisor from the job centre with us. So then it's kind of a triangular approach, and then advisors from aftercare come in with them as well. So it seems like a very good partnership working. And I think that the young people actually like being supported from different angles. We've got a very good partnership with NHS. So through the Anchor programme, we now have been lucky, I think, to secure 10 traineeships for young people, for care leavers. We haven't started them yet, but we will be. I think we've identified 3 at present, so hopefully we'll start that soon. And actually, we now have an advisor from NHS from the Anchor programme in the hub on Thursdays, and her diary is full till the end of February. It's not just for care leavers, but it's for all young people. I think there are challenges. Of course, there's a lot of young people who are not ready to engage in education, employment and training, so there's a lot of barriers, and that trauma approach, of course, is always raises its head. I think that the second challenge is the lack of 16 to 18 provision. That's not just for care leavers, but for our Thurrock young people. We don't have a lot of courses that we can give them and offer them at present. So I am working with the SFA that has been raised to the highest level. So we might come to a very quick resolution in the next month or so. But at present, there is a lack of courses. I think that's probably our main challenges. So I think I'll welcome any questions from the committee. Thank you.
Could I perhaps just add a couple of points to what Kate was saying? One of the things I would like to draw attention to is there's some detail in this report around the updated local offer for care leavers, around support for them, particularly focusing on education and employment. The new local offer is up on the Thurrock website now, and covers a multitude of areas, but obviously this report is just focusing on around education and employment, and what we now have in terms of an enhanced offer for young people. One of the other things that the report talks about is a piece of work that we started to have a conversation with our commissioners around when we're kind of going out to tender and to buy services in for the council, to have an expectation for those service providers to think about what they can offer for care leavers. So there's a conversation that started with children's commissioners at the moment, but we're looking to kind of extend that across all of commissioning across the council eventually. And I know that's something that's being taken forward. And the other aspect in this report is around some of the conversations that we've been having with members of the Corporate Parenting Committee around the role that you guys can play in terms of really championing the cause of care leavers across the council. So when you're going into those other forums, to kind of be planting that seed for other parts of the council about what can we all offer for our care leavers as corporate parents, what opportunities in terms of employment or work experience are there in all of the different kind of parts of the council. So yeah, they're the three areas I wanted to draw some attention to. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Kate and Luke. Very nice report. Thank you. Just going through the report. It's page 65, and it's 3.12, and it just kind of caught my eye. One care leaver has completed their construction skills certificate scheme, and there's 6 other care workers have signed up for the next intake, which is very encouraging. Maybe that's a sign of something to come. Actually, it's.
There's significant funding for 19 plus, but if you're not old enough, then you can't access. So we are working with the SFA. Yes, we've got 6 waiting on our books. I have another case study of a care leaver who hasn't completed the CSCS because his English is very poor, but he's got fabulous carpenting skills. But until we realised that he had those carpenting skills, we couldn't engage him in ESOL courses with Thurrock Community College. What we're working with the college now is to try and make the courses contextualised. So if somebody's interested into going into childcare, for example, then the courses will be focused around childcare vocabulary, perhaps. Whereas if you want carpentry, if we had engaged him sooner and contextualised the ESOL course to make sure that it was perhaps around carpentry and construction, he probably would have completed the course soon. And I think that's one of the challenges, actually. Our young people on ESOL courses, they drop out because when you come into a new country and you don't know the language, it's very hard to build up that vocabulary and language, isn't it? So it's about perseverance with that cohort. Thank you.
Yeah, it caught my eye because I'm a very over-enthusiastic DIY. So it's DIY. So as soon as I saw construction, I kind of went straight for it. And it's a fabulous way now for young people to get into a serious profession. And obviously construction is going to be booming soon. And there's always a big need. We was talking about this the other night with Janet. Yeah, so that's a terrific thing. With the qualifications that they actually achieved, can they then go straight into employment? The employers will take them from
That's why everybody wants this CSCS card, because after you have that, you can go on any site, and there's loads of jobs on the. Provided you're 18 plus, employers don't like taking 16 and 17-year-olds, even if they have CSCS card, unfortunately. But this particular young person went through a 6-week trial with mayors who were so impressed with him, although he doesn't have a lot of English, but they were so impressed with him that they will take him onto a trial for an apprenticeship as soon as that position comes up in their company. So again, another positive result.
Yeah, I think because I came through an apprenticeship system, and I think what is very often the key with this is in potential employers that they're looking for something else in the person. It's aptitude, I don't know if that's the right word, that they are willing to do it and they want to do it. Skills might not necessarily be quite there, but that's only sort of half the battle. It's actually if they want to do it. So, if we're getting young people into a good construction sort of environment like this, it's fantastic. So, does anyone else have any other questions? Cece.
I just wanted to bring up a point that I think we spoke about a few months ago at a meeting that was quite a while back now, but it's really interesting to see all the different things that are on offer in the Inspire Hub, and it's really cool to get music or a variety of different things. I think it's really, really good. I wanted to ask, this might be theoretical, so please correct me if it doesn't apply to Thurrock, but for some young people, so particularly care leavers, who maybe came in as unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, and then now they're 18 plus. If there are some who maybe for whatever reason their immigration status isn't confirmed, or for them to get employment or to go to university, there may be some difficulties in terms of logistical, I guess you could call it that, issues. What does this team or this centre kind of do to support those children? Because I think you've kind of touched on it when you said about how there was one person and their English wasn't too great, but then they're really interested in carpentry, and there's ways that as a council and as a team you guys can accommodate and bring out the best in everyone that you help. But I was just wondering, is there any specific sort of help for those people who may be in a bit of a difficult position after they've kind of left formal education? Thank you.
We would never turn any young person away from Inspire, so we work with them individually. We've got tutors who will come and individually do English and maths with them. Again, we've got those, you know, the music studio, so we've got the well-being courses. So I think Luke will probably be in a better position to answer whether, if they don't have status, would they be allowed to access the FE courses. I'm not sure.
So whether you've got status or not, in the main, your right to education remains unchanged. So unaccompanied asylum-seeking children can be supported to go to, or former children can be supported to access education. In a practical sense, a lot of the time what we find is they need to kind of complete those ESOL levels to a certain level in order to be able to access other forms of education. But that's something that we absolutely provide, and we, you know, once they get to that level, we then want them to be ambitious and go on to do those other things and access other types of education.
Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to jump in on the ESOL thing because if you look at the Adult Community College's Ofsted report, it was deemed to require improvement, but one thing that was clear throughout was how good the ESOL offer was. And I only went 2 weeks ago, actually, and I saw an ESOL class in session, and there was a variety of nationalities, including Ukraine, Afghanistan and the Central African Republic. And the flow of the lesson was just fantastic. So I'm really glad to hear that that ESOL offer can be shaped to particular, because TAC do have the ability to do that, because they have got such a good ESOL offer. So I just wanted to bring in on that. I thought I might know something else, so thank you.
Thank you. I mean, just page 65, actually, just a tiny little bit further down, 3.15. It's got government financial support to encourage employers to take care of experienced young people on as apprentices, and an apprenticeship bursary has recently been introduced. Can you just kind of just explain to us what that is, please?
I think what we mean here is that the apprenticeship, the national apprenticeship wage has gone up in the recent months, but not enough for care. What we're finding is a lot of our care leavers will not or are not enticed to take up an apprenticeship space, because they feel that once they will be at a disadvantage if they take on an apprenticeship, because it doesn't pay as much as the benefits that they receive. However, when we take on apprentices in Thurrock Council, because we give them more than the national wage for apprenticeships, our apprenticeship started at 18,000, I think, then that does make sense for them to take up an apprenticeship. So the young person I was referring to before, he is quite happy with that financial balance. Whereas if he had gone for a company somewhere else, some other company who would have been paying the national apprenticeship wage, it would be very they're at a disadvantage to take on that apprenticeship, and that's why apprenticeships with care leavers are quite low compared to the national apprenticeship.
Anyone else have any other questions? Councillor Polly.
Thank you very much for the report. I think there's a lot of excellent stuff in here, and it's but page 63, 3.3, the local offer sets out support that is available to care leavers to engage them into education, employment and training. Reading through the list, a lot of that seems very academic in the support. It focuses on university, which is great. I'm not finding fault with any of that, but is there the same sort of support? So if a young apprentice who wants to become a carpenter but needs to be able to drive to get to site, would we support him with driving lessons, like the more practical skills, to enable them, as we would enable somebody to pursue their academic career, would we be enabling them to follow their more vocational skills?
No, absolutely. I think Luke was was raring to go, so I'll leave Luke to answer the financial question. But what I would like to say is that because we're delivering on our On Track, which is an ASF-funded project where we offer support to young people 16 to 25, and now we've gone to, that's finished in December 23, but now we've gone on to Share Prosperity Fund, Thurrock Works project, which also supports neat young people, including care leavers, into employment. We will offer support, so a personal advisor has a caseload of young people, and they will support them even when they come into employment for the next 6 months, because that's the outcomes that we need to witness to the funders. So we will be providing that support to the young person. So it is whether reminding him or her to attend work on the days, or working out the bus route, how to get to work, or talking through lunches, and that you can't take a 2-hour lunch, it's a 1-hour lunch. So all that support will be available, and then aftercare will offer the other support that I think Luke was willing to go.
There are obviously this what's been shared here is specifically around education. So there, the local offer, I would encourage everyone to have a look at the website, have a look at the local offer. Has various sections, so things like driving lessons are included in our local offer, but not necessarily in the education section. There is a lot of practical support around preparing for attending interviews, creating CVs. We will kind of advise and guide, but also provide the cost of a suit to wear for an interview, the cost of travel to get to your work for the first month, so that until your wages come in and you can kind of start to support yourself. So there is a range of practical kind of support around those more vocational roles as well.
Sorry, and also we was talking earlier about the IHAs, and obviously some of our unaccompanied asylum seekers, and some of our children that come into care, going back to the family dysfunction things, sometimes that those behaviours or things that haven't been picked up because they haven't been in mainstream for whatever reasons. One of the things that can get picked up at higher education is neurodivergence, and there is a very long backlog for the IHAs, there's even a longer backlog for a neurodivergent diagnosis, which then for that student to be able to get the support with extended time for study or the right computer. It's one thing having a computer, but if you're neurodivergent and it's not working for you from an academic point of view, I just wondered, is there anything that we can do to support that through the council's occupational health or anything like that? Can we fast track a student if the university or the higher education establishment picks up that they feel there might be some indicators?
I mean, I think the role of the aftercare service is absolutely to advocate for young people on whatever level. So if we see evidence that there is that kind of need, which is an unmet need, we absolutely would expect our PAs to kind of be consulting with the university, the health professionals, and really kind of pushing and fighting their corner for that stuff. If you take one of the examples you mentioned around kind of IT equipment and things like that, we will kind of look at if there are particular needs that requires a particular piece of equipment, and we will kind of liaise not just with the young person but the university to kind of understand, yes, there's a particular need here. That might be something like a neurodiverse need, it might be the needs of a particular course that a young person's studying, where they need something that's a kind of a more advanced laptop, for example, and we'll consider all of those things on a case-by-case basis and look to support that as we can.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. So, a couple of things. I do want to be clear, first of all, this is my portfolio, so I'm not really going to ask questions, as that wouldn't really be right. But I did want to say we have got young voices here, and they've asked us for a couple of things. I think what would be really useful is to hear if they've had any barriers. I'm speaking as a care leaver myself, there were barriers to get into education, employment and training after leaving care. So I wondered if that is something you could perhaps take away and at another meeting and then perhaps feed back to the committee. I think we'll all really appreciate hearing that, as well as what you thought were the biggest challenges for you as care leavers. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you very much for your report, Kate and Luke. Yes, lots of interesting stuff there, so, and very nice bit of contribution, so it's very good. So if nobody else has got anything else to ask, if we could just move to recommendations, which are quite lengthy by the looks of it. I will read them out. 1.1, members are invited to consider agreeing a target of 70% for care experienced young people to progress into employment, education and training following the end of Year 11 studies. 1.2, members are invited to consider and agree that Thurrock Council takes a proactive role in offering apprenticeship and work experience opportunities as a corporate parent. These opportunities will be brokered via Inspire Hub. 1.3, members agree to support identifying other potential opportunities for our care experienced young people in the wider communities of Thurrock. All in agreement? Thank you very much, thank you. Item 9, which is the Children Looked After and Care Leaver Sufficiency Strategy Update. And that is Dan Jones and Kerry Armstrong.
Yeah, apologies from Kerry tonight. She wasn't able to make it tonight.
Oh, very sorry. Okay. Dan.
Thank you very much. So the sufficiency strategy is a statutory requirement. Every local authority must have one and make plans so far as reasonably practicable to secure suitable placements for children who may need them. One of the reasons we decided to revise this strategy entirely is things have changed somewhat in the last few years, and there is a widely acknowledged national shortage of suitable placements for children. Particular groups affected are children of secondary school age, larger sibling groups, where we need placements for parents and children together, and children with special educational needs as well. So there is quite a lot of change, and I think that national recognition is there because the government's released a forward plan which is called Stable Homes Built on Love. And so when we came to revise our strategy, we had all this context to consider and what the children we know about need and the children we may need to know about. We had to think about that. But I think one of the things that was very important to me when I was gathering this and with the team of people who worked on it was young people's views. So if I could just draw your attention to page 83. Carly helped me with this somewhat, which was pulling together the messages that people had talked to us over a period of time and talked to me in the summer when I came to visit the Children in Care Council, as was. So I think the really important thing is to hear is that our children would like to live as close to home as possible with their foster carers or their placement. They would like to have as much stability in education as possible and as few school moves as possible. They don't want everybody to know that they're in care. That's their own business. It's not for us to pull things together that make them stand out in any way. They'd like to know a little bit more about placements before they go there. So that might be a foster home, that might be a children's home, or a supported accommodation. So we've done some work on that. And I think one of the really important messages is that not everybody wants to live in a family. So for some children or some young people, they may have made the decision that actually family's been a really stressful place to be, and they would like to be somewhere a little bit different. And so they talk to us about the needs for residential care and semi-independent accommodation. So this led to what you have in the appendix, which is quite a lengthy document. I have tried to make it as approachable as possible, but it does need to cover a great deal. I think what we are assuming is that the overall number of children in care will remain fairly steady, assuming there's no greater expectation in terms of the number of unaccompanied children we're expected to support by the central government. What we're actually seeing for children who are previously resident in Thurrock is that there's fewer needing long-term care. And I think that reflects part of our work that's going on. I mentioned it earlier about the idea of Think Family and using the family network to support children, and what do we need to do as a professional network around the family to enable children to stay at home where that's appropriate and where that's very much what they want. If I could just flick ahead to Stable Homes Built on Love, which is on page 90. It sets out a number of ambitions for all local authorities to help families, to keep children safe, to support them, families to help children, to make care better for children in care and care leavers, to make sure we have enough social workers to support children, and improving the whole system. And that really forms, alongside the children's views, the bedrock of the strategy. I did want to highlight particularly the needs of children with special educational needs and disabilities. I think what we're finding is that the provision for them nationally is very limited, and when we need placements for that group of children, it can be harder to find them currently. And we're looking at what we can do regionally, so across the eastern region, to develop capacity. There are some high points, also some areas where things are going well. So we're able to recruit enough adopters for those children who need adoption. We are now seeing that foster carers approved by Thurrock consistently have the majority of children who require foster care placed with them. So rather than paying independent agencies, we consistently have a lion's share there now. We're seeing some small increase this year in the number of fostering households, which is very, very welcome after a lot of work by everybody involved. So thank you to the recruitment team as well and the One Team. What we have seen is that some of our provision for those who are just turning 18 in transitional accommodation, we're having some progress in achieving stable housing, but equally we have some additional capacity coming online, reflecting the number of young people who are turning 18 and needing services like Head Start housing. There are challenges, however, and I think I've sort of touched on SEN provision and being perhaps the one that's uppermost in my mind. The other area is finding provision that suits children with neurodiverse qualities who might also have some other need alongside that. So there might be a mental health need, or that might be a significant learning need, or something else alongside that, and that's part of our regional work. One of the significant changes to the sector is that those who provide supported accommodation to children aged 16, 17 and into early adulthood now need to register with Ofsted, and that process has started. We now only will commission providers who are in that process and have an application with Ofsted, which is in line with other local authorities. I think longer term, we are going to find that this situation doesn't change, and the strategy kind of sets out our key challenges and some of the efforts we've made to generate more placements in the area, particularly with more children's homes having opened in the last year and more coming on stream. And we are quick to work with those providers, go out and visit those homes and see whether those placements are right for children who need a placement now or in the next few months that we know about. I think that's the highlights, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to take.
Excellent, thanks Dan. Any questions? Oh, that's a no. I've got one, page 71. It really is, again, it's just sort of kind of a clarification, and it's 3.5, and it just starts to address the gaps locally, particularly around placements for young people with complex needs, often on deprivation and liberty orders. So, but I don't know if maybe you just explain that to the committee. We have developed 2 residential homes within Thurrock, utilising local council housing stock. These are initially being used as solo placements with a view to possibly increasing the capacity to 2 placements at least one of the homes. So is that 1 placement per home at the moment? Is that how I'm reading that? Is it okay?
Yes, that's correct. So for some of our children, young people, where there are multiple needs, as I've kind of alluded to, for their own safety and well-being, we may need to ask the court for permission to restrict their liberty, and that might be in a way that's fairly small. It might be around use of their technology or mobile phone, or it might be in a way that's quite a bit more significant, where we're saying, look, this young person needs supervision and support constantly because of their needs. To do that, we have to go to court and ask for permission, and that's currently termed deprivation of liberty orders. And the court approves that's in their best interest. We would always consult with their parents and with the child when that happens. They might not always want the order, but what we have found is they have been successful in assisting us to meet need, and we've seen some of those young people in those situations really move forward and progress with the care provided.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and just one other really silly little point. I was just kind of flicking through, and it's on page 82. And really, I looked at the two tables of the two figures, and one was for the location of the looked after children, and the other one for care leavers. And it was just a thought that went through my mind. You actually see the columns of the numbers involved, and you think that's actually quite a lot, isn't it? But of course, we're always on the need for, for new placements, new carers, etc. So it just goes to show that there is large numbers here that we need to always have in mind. And just one other very, very silly point. I did notice that Bellis, the ward of Bellis, has got quite a high number of care leavers in the ward, isn't it? And it's just something that just caught my eye, and that's actually reflected in the other table as well. And it's sort of shared, I think, by three other wards. It's just a strange anomaly, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we wanted to do with this strategy was look at Thurrock and break down where our children's homes are, because one of the most important things to them was to stay close to home. So for us to do that, we need to know what parts of Thurrock are important to them, because for you and I, we may think that Thurrock is relatively small and moving across it is fairly easy, but I think when you're young, and it was probably the same for all of us when you're young, that a move across the road can feel significant. So I think what we wanted to set out was, what is our locality, where do our children feel at home?
Okay, thank you. Anyone got any questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much then for that. Keeping you busy as usual. We've got one recommendation for that one, which is that members are advised of the revised sufficiency strategy and have had the opportunity to review and comment upon this in relation to Thurrock Council statutory duty. All in agreement?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Obviously item 10 was moved. So we now go to item 11, which is the Missing Children report. And Claire, good evening.
Thank you. So this report just provides an overview of the processes in place in relation to looked after children when they're reported missing from care. The processes are the same for all children that are reported missing. It also provides additional information regarding the number of looked after children who go missing, the nature of their missing episodes and the actions taken to locate and safeguard them. And the report also provides reassurance that the majority of looked after children that are reported missing are aged sort of 16 and 17 and return to their placements within 24 hours of being reported missing. The most common reason for the missing episodes is that the young person just wants to stay out later with friends or family or stay with them overnight. For younger children aged 14 and 15 have been reported missing, and those that are on several occasions, there are clear plans in place to safeguard them and consider what support and intervention is required to reduce the risks in relation to their missing episodes and whether there is exploitation. The report also looks at the return home interview process and how that is offered to every child, including looked after children, when they return from a missing episode. So that's an opportunity for those independent workers to engage with those young people, trying to find ways of preventing future missing episodes, but to ensure that if the child or young person goes missing, that there are adequate safety plans in place. So there are robust procedures in place for looked after children. I'm not going to go into those in any detail because they're written clearly within the report. And there are also other processes in place when there are concerns that children and young people are being exploited whilst missing. So when we talk about exploitation, we're talking about children who are criminally exploited to sell drugs or run county lines, and also being groomed into sexually exploitative situations. And we do have additional support from the Thurrock Exploitation and Missing Children's team to support the allocated social worker and practitioners in identifying and assessing the risk around exploitation. And there is also overview of those children and young people that are assessed as being medium or high risk of exploitation through a monthly tracking panel that's chaired by myself and will be James going forward. There is also some data sets included in the report. I'm going to need my glasses for these. So looking at the children looked after, missing episodes, the number of children and those that are unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. Unfortunately, when this report was written, we didn't have the Q3 data to put into the graphs, but there has been a drop in, there was a drop in November where the number of missing episodes was 26, with the number of children being 11, where 3 months previously, things have been pretty much plateaued between sort of 33 and 37 missing episodes, and between 15 and 17 children. So there has been a drop in those missing episodes and the numbers of children, and they were all aged 16 and 17 years apart from one, but that is a young person that has repeat missing episodes. And those that returned within 24 hours was 69%. So as we've said, the Inspire Youth Hub were commissioned to undertake those return home interviews, but from April we took this service in-house and we recruited 2 return home interview workers that have been in post since October 23. They really have had a positive impact on the service, ensuring that 100% of our children who went missing in November were offered a return home interview within 72 hours of them returning, and that continuation of that good performance and increases in the take-up of return home interviews has continued to rise. So there has obviously been a high number of acceptance and completion. I'm not going to go through any more detail within the report. It's not a long report anyway, but I'm quite happy to take questions.
Thank you, Kira, for the report. Any questions? Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, could you get your microphone? Cheers. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your report. People who've been on this committee for a long time have known I've long asked for more detail around missing episodes and differentiating between the two. I do still wish we could do a comparison between missing without authorisation and missing from care, which are vastly different. But I do welcome this, and I think it gives a lot of detail, because even if they're an hour late, you're considered missing. And quite rightly so, we need to be vigilant with our vulnerable children. So I just wanted to thank for the report, really, because it is something I've asked for quite a long time. So thank you.
Can I just mention as well that we have worked, the teams have worked really hard looking at the places that young people go to and trying to make them an authorised place to go. So checking on the safety of those particular places where young people are going and staying. So that will have impacted on the number of missing episodes.
Following up on what you've just had there, are you talking about if they're staying at a certain person's house, if that person then provides ID, a contact number, and that becomes authorised? is there a
we
procedure here?
We do more detailed checks than that.
To get a general view as
Yes.
like you then check this person's okay, and then that becomes authorised. It's not they're at this park, so we know where they are.
No,
I know.
It's suitable. It's not. No, it's not if they're in a park overnight.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Councillor Polly.
Thank you very much for the report. On page 136, I see there we've seen a reduction of missing episodes for these children when they feel more settled and secure in their placements and have developed positive relationships with professionals, but not just professionals. Obviously, the foster families that do so much work are our unsung heroes. So I just want to make a note of thanking all the foster carers that, the reduction in missing episodes is down to your hard work, investment, emotional and physical into our young people, and that I do want that noted because I do think that's invaluable, and thank you for all you do. Obviously, if any young person goes missing and there's processes, and that must cause tension with the care families as well, because the young person will know that the family have got to report them, and then they'll get the ump when they come back because they've been reported, and those tensions are ongoing. So we talk in the report quite rightly about a return home interview for the missing person or the looked after child. But I would hope and that the family that or the placement that they're with also have some sort of mediation and right to sort of have a conversation as to why, if this is an ongoing thing, whether it's a behavioural thing, whether they feel that they're being supported as well. I note again on page 136 at 3.4 we say that within 72 hours of returning that person is offered a return home interview. Where are they in that 72 hours? Are they put straight back into their placement, or are they in a holding pen somewhere to make sure? Yeah, but I don't know what the reasons is why they've gone missing. I mean, if we're just returning them back into a tense and frustrating, just like a sheepdog, round them up and put them in a pen somewhere until, sorry, my neurodivergence, obviously, it does a little image in my head there. So, thank you.
No, they're not put into a pen somewhere or some kind of holding area. There will be some initial discussion with the young person about, where they've been, are they safe, what happened to you whilst you were missing. More often than not, they will come back of their own accord, so they'll go back to the placement themselves, and it's just business as usual. If they're clearly not happy, there's some issue with the placement, and I'm not saying it's to do with foster carers. It could be a residential placement, for example. Then obviously we will look into that and making sure that we can try and get some stability for that young person. But no holding pens.
Thank you. I'm glad there's no holding pen. Really. But exactly, because it might be a location, it might be that their network of family, friends, and we, just because we physically didn't have anywhere else for their placement at that time, it may be a logistical thing, mightn't it? It may be. So you've satisfied me that we are, asking them why the need to go missing, so that we can try and help with that. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, page 133. I mean, I've read. I do kind of have a question. It's written all down my board here, but I'm not going to at this stage of the evening, I'm not going to try and cobble together a coherent question out of this because I don't think it'll come across the right way, to be honest. Other than really, you know, you kind of read through certain paragraphs, and when you see actually about the child exploitation, you know, and the criminality and all these things that they can be exposed to, it's really quite a leveller, isn't it? Really, I mean, we all sit around this table, we've got quite comfortable lives, if we're all being really honest. You know, and when you think of others that are actually exposed to risks like this. So the question I was going to ask, I won't, because I don't think I'll go near it. But yeah, just reading through it really just brings it home, you know, that there are children out there with really great needs, you know, that really do need to be looked after properly.
Can I just emphasise that the majority of children that go missing are with friends and family and are not being exploited. Yes, you know, there are some that are, but the majority aren't.
Yeah, I knew it was kind of in an extreme thing. That's why I kind of basically stayed away from it, because it just throws up some quite extreme answers. Okay, I think we've got some. We've got quite a lengthy recommendation there. Is this committee okay if I just read that out as 1.1 and 1.2? So all in agreement? Yeah, that's a yes. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we've just got item 12 now, which is the work programme. And that is for 19th of March. We've not got quite as long a break this time. Again, quite a lengthy agenda. I do have the annual report, which I think I've just got to authorise and check through and get back. So that will need to be included into that report as well.
Is that the first one?
Oh, it is. I do apologise. It is. There you go. Well done. Thank you very much, Luke. Yeah, will be getting a further update on the IHAs for that report?
I think it might be possible to give a verbal update. The reporting deadlines are very, very close to this committee because it's a little bit later. So I don't know if there'll be enough time to produce a formal report, but there will be the performance report where IHAs are covered when there isn't a separate report. So you'll get the data, and then I'm sure a verbal update can be provided. I don't know.
I mean, I think it'll be most welcome, yes. Councillor Carter?
I put my hand up just as he said the data will be sent to us. So I was going to ask, can the data be sent before the verbal update? But it was answered as my hand was up.
Sorry, Councillor Polly?
Just on that, I mean, we did have from Camden that the task and finish group, it was a 3-month timeline, wasn't it, for their... Do we know when that's starting, when that's due to finish? Sorry, Janet.
So we've got the first meeting on the next week, on the 30th. So 3 months from then. But what we can do is come back with a verbal update on where we are and what proposals are being put forward. But I wouldn't want to give an impression that we're going to have loads of data because, as Dan said, the reports are due within the next couple of weeks. So there won't be a massive change to report.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Jan. If we could have a verbal update to what has been scoped for that task and finish group, I think that would help us understand what outcomes we can expect from it. So thank you.
Scoped, that's a good word, I like that, yeah. Councillor Carter?
Yes, so that task and finish group will conclude after this meeting, which would be the last meeting of the Corporate Parenting Committee for this electoral year. And so the next committee might have some different members, but if we could have that as a rolling item, I think, so that it will be on the first agenda of next year. Municipal. Thank you, Georgia.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else got anything else to ask? Ed? That's a no. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. It's been a nice evening. And with that, I will now close the meeting at 21:11. Have a good journey home. Thank you.
Thank you.